Everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, I just want to talk about not necessarily price action, um, but more so market sentiment. If you are here for, I post videos daily on price analysis on various coins. If you're here for that, sorry. I will have a video later on today talking about just that. But last night I was on Reddit and I frequent there a lot, not necessarily for cryptocurrency, but sometimes for cryptocurrency. And I'm sure all of you do as well. And I'm sure all of you are part of your respective subreddits of, you know, projects, coins that you really like. I'm sure a lot of you are on the Bitcoin subreddit. I'm sure you're on, cryptocurrency trading subreddits, not necessarily talking about tech or announcements, but more so just price action. And I frequent there as well. And last night when I was on there, this is nothing new, but reading it kind of sparked the inspiration of this video where uh, a lot of people change sentiment very quickly. And you'll see very common, like very frequently, this happening. It wasn't a few days ago where a lot of people were saying, we're going to drop. We broke down the 20-day. We're going down to 16,000. We'll wick down there, down to 15,000 or 14,000. And if they made that argument and kept with that argument, I would somewhat agree. When you look at what 14,000 is right now, we're not too far away from that in regards to the 20-week moving average. And right now we're at 13,700, 13,800. Next week, we would be hitting around $14,000 or close to it. And so that would make sense. If we were to drop down to the 20-week, we'd be dropping down to $14,000. However, these same people now, because we've broken above the 20-day, we had a very good weekend for Bitcoin, um, coming back from the lows of 18,000. Now we're at 19,100, and a lot of people are now saying this is the rally that's going to take us over to 20K. My initial thought, why? Um, and why are you flip flopping so willingly? I understand for some people there are confirmations, there are things that the market, like for example, if we break down the 20-week, my sentiment of the market is going to change very quickly. But I feel like the 20-week is one of the most key indicators of Bitcoin charts. And I wouldn't necessarily attribute, I would necessarily attribute any kind of indicator to the same credence as, say, the 20-week. I wouldn't be saying the same thing about the 20-day and how the price interacts around the 20-day, etc. But these people are now saying this is the move that brings us up to 20K, and this is where the idea of market sentiment comes into play. It changes very quickly. It can change as quickly as flicking a switch. And this is just a word of caution for anyone uh, who can easily get caught up into it, to kind of pump the brakes and try to see the forest through the trees. Because these people that are flip flopping evidently are not, I would argue. And this is not me to say that we're going to go down to the 20-week. I'm simply trying to state that no one knows the future for sure, definitively. If they did, they wouldn't be posting on Reddit. They wouldn't be making YouTube videos, and that's just a fact. I can provide insight on my perspective on how I see the market, and you might see it as value. And to all the people, the very little amount of people that watch my videos, I hope I provide that value to you to some degree. And I'm sure you have other people that you watch uh, on YouTube for the exact same reasons. And I feel like not one of us has a clear answer. Not one of us knows definitively. And because of that, you should not uh, uh, put a lot of stock, a lot of salt within us. What you should be doing, but this is not financial advice, you take all the advice you can get, even the people on Reddit if you want to, and kind of amalgamate it and then think to yourself, does this make sense? Does this make sense for yourself? Uh, because there's a lot of factors in this. How big's your portfolio? How big is the initial position? Where did you buy in? Um, what is your risk tolerance? You know, because a lot of people say they're willing to take on risk, but I'll be completely frank. People are lying to themselves uh, on knowing what the risk tolerance is. Why? Because we have these giant boom and bust cycles in Bitcoin. It easily shows in the price that a lot of you do not have the risk appetite because people are selling. A lot of people sell at points in the market. And that's not because they bought it, they sold at the top, because there are people that sold here and it brought it down to $3,000. Um, so a lot of those factors come into play, and in the end, you're gonna have to make that decision yourself. Um, what I really feel like people should be doing, but this is again not financial advice, is if you have a theory, do your best to try to poke holes in your theory. Be your worst advocate. Be your biggest proponent and try to poke as many holes as you can into that theory. And in the end, after all that hole poking, if you still think it's a good idea, then do it. Uh, After weighing all the risks, seeing any possibility of it happening, of X, Y, and Z, um, if you think it's still a good theory and it's something you're willing to bet money on, then by all means, go do it. I don't know what that theory is for you, but uh, I think that's probably the most logical way of going about it. Again, a word of caution, because when you're part of these groups and when Bitcoin moves, let's say those people that said this is the rally that takes us over to 20K are right, because they could be, because it very possibly could happen today, tomorrow, next week, etc. You're going to be on such a high. It's going to feel great. I've been there too. And those same people are going to say next is 50, next is 100, next is to 300, and because it just keeps on rallying, you're going to um, buy into that. You're really going to, because it's really hard not to. At some point, everyone, you really have to pump the brakes and say how much of this is going to last, because it never does. It never does. It's not only in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrency, happens in any kind of asset class you have, just on a longer period of time. At one point, the party ends and everyone's caught with their pants between their ankles. At some point, you must stop and look around and say, is this right? Is it right for Bitcoin to jump to $300,000 by 2021? Is it? Uh, uh, and be very, very conservative about that. And be very realistic about that. Everyone wants to see Bitcoin at $300,000, but is it really going to? Wouldn't you rather sell at $100,000 and lock in those profits, sell at $150,000 and lock in those profits? Hell, even sell at $80,000 and lock in those profits. I'd rather be doing that than be waiting for $300,000, see it go as high as 150 and then drop down to say $50,000. That is a mistake I've done before. I will not do it again. And that is for me. And I hope all of you never really have to experience that, because it's a really bad feeling, and you're really gonna hate yourself for it. And being around these people on Reddit, on these people that are just flipping sentiment so quickly, can make you really, really lose your bags, because these same people are going to be buying at 19,100. They're going to be expecting it to go over to 20. If it doesn't, they're going to sell when it breaks the 20-day again, and rinse and repeat, and you're going to lose your position. You're really going to lose your position. Um, for me, uh, sure, Bitcoin can go to $20,000, over 20,000. It could also go the other way around. It can also go sideways. At the end of the day, I already still have my position. I'm not buying up here. Let me make that very clear. I have not bought Bitcoin up at this level. I haven't bought Bitcoin since like 14, as high as $14,000, I believe. I think that was around the last time I bought Bitcoin with fiat. With fiat, everything else was altcoin, taking profits from altcoins and moving it back into Bitcoin, because I didn't want to sell it back to stablecoins. So for me, and I think for I hope a lot of my viewers, as little as you are, thank you for watching, by the way. For those people, we already have our positions. And so whether it goes up, down, or sideways at this moment is not very much a cause of concern, so to speak. And then because of that, my risk tolerance is higher. I can see Bitcoin's price move down and I won't get spooked, compared to someone who's bought at 19.1 and now it's going down 10-15% and getting a little spooked. For these markets, always have your position pretty much ready before a move begins. If you expect it to move up, like, you should already have a position into it. Let that move come to you. Don't buy when the move's already happening. And 9 times out of 10, if you do that, you're going to get burned. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Actually, I'll leave it at this. And I'll repeat it. No one knows the future. No one can definitively know the future. I don't know the future. The other YouTubers don't know the future. And people on Reddit do not know the future. All we can do is make calculated risks. But people tend to forget the first part of that two-word statement. Calculated. How much of calculation is needed of Bitcoin just going over the 20-day? It's not much. And because of that, I don't put much salt into it. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll see you later. Take care.